Okay, I'm going to bring you guys along with me as I change my air filter. First, you got to take off the rear passenger seat so you can get to the bolt right here, which holds down the driver's seat, and you got to take off the driver's seat. Okay, now once you have the seat off, you have access to these hex head bolts. There's two right here, and there's also two over here in the front. It's a size 5 Allen wrench, and you got to take those off in order to get this tank cover off. Okay, here's where you would like to have an extra set of hands helping you out. You don't have to worry about too much about this line. This is just a like an overflow line, just goes down to the bottom of the bike and then drips out if you overfill your tank or whatever. One thing you want to be really careful about is the fuel line right here. Don't want to, if you don't take it off, which I'm not doing because I don't want to go through the trouble, you want to make sure it doesn't snag, get pulled off, or even worse, breaks. So what I have now is, since I'm by myself, I just took off the tank and then I set it on a trash can on the side, making sure that the fuel line does not get damaged and there's not much pressure being put on it. You want to make sure, of course, that your petcock is turned to off. And this is actually connected to the part of the tank, so when you're taking off the tank, you have to kind of pull it out from under here. So that's one thing to be aware of when you're taking that off. Make sure not to break it. But now you have this exposed, which is the air box, so you gotta take these bolts off, these metric bolts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them to remove this cover. Okay, so after removing the 7 bolts from the perimeter of the air box, you can now get inside the air box. This is the air filter, and that goes to the carburetors, or those are the carburetors, the outside of them. You can see that there is another protective screen between the outside air and the engine. This gets more of the bigger air, or bigger pieces of dirt and crap in case it gets through by accident. As you can tell, the air filter has been doing a pretty good job, and it's not dirty at all, so that's good. This is the air filter. If you remove it, you can look at the inside, how much dirt there is. This is definitely dirty, but it could be dirtier. It is definitely time for a change, though. Some people actually take off the plastic and then clean the air filter with special products and such, but I'm going the lazier route, and I'm just actually buying a brand new genuine air filter, Kawasaki air filter, and to replace it. If you can look, there's a bunch of dirt in there, and also inside here there's a bunch of grimy dirt and crap, which I will most likely clean out. In order to be sure that you don't get any dirt or whatever into the engine, you're going to want to cover this up with a rag of some sort. So what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to take off this plastic housing of the air filter and then put a new air filter inside. Okay, now that we have the old air filter taken out of the frame, I have a genuine Kawasaki parts new air filter. Usually when you clean your air filter, if you're using the old one, you'd have to re-oil it, but if you buy a brand new one, they typically come pre-oiled already, so you don't have to worry about oiling it. One thing you have to be careful of is making sure this part, the yellow part, is actually facing downward. I don't exactly know why, but my guess is that so when you take the air filter out, you can actually see how dirty it is. Okay, so now we're going to install the new air filter into the frame. Once you got all the tabs snapped in, just install the air filter face down. Make sure it fits in there nice and snug. Okay. The edges are going to be pushed up a little bit because it hasn't exactly compressed all the way. Just make sure it's in line and it's in there properly, and you should be able to install the airbox right over it again. Okay, I've got all the bolts on the perimeter back on, but it's not tightened down because I want to make sure it's actually set in there properly so it's not letting any air through on the outside. One thing that I make sure the longer bolts are supposed to be where they are, and the shorter bolts are where they are. For the 2005 to 2008 Kawasaki ZZR600 or the 98 to 01 ZX-6R, there are 3 longer bolts in the back, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 shorter ones up front. This one back bolt actually has like a little thingy, a little clip harness wire holder thingy, so you want to make sure you put that back on when you're done. Since it's set properly, you want to go around and tighten each bolt. You don't want to tighten it too tight, just enough so it's just barely snug. Okay, now you gotta put the tank back on. Make sure to do it carefully. Gotta make sure your fuel lines are not hurt. Okay. Put this back in there. Alright, one thing I gotta make sure is, since I had the tank actually tilted, it leaked a little bit of fuel. As you can tell, it went across the paint. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just make sure you clean that up pretty promptly, because gasoline can eat through the finish. So, I have a towel. Yeah, that definitely ate through all the grease. It'd probably be wise to do this when you have a near empty tank, but I actually, dumb me, I filled up right before I finished riding yesterday. So, now you gotta put the bolts back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now you have the tank reinstalled, and you put your crazy comfortable, modified looking driver's seat back on. You install the tab that holds the driver's seat in place right there with the 10mm bolt, and you put your passenger seat back on like so. Give it a good pat. It's nice and secure, and that is how you install a new air filter on your Kawasaki ZZR600 from 2005 to 2008 or your 1999 to 2002 Kawasaki ZX-6R.